Good morning, good evening, good night, good afternoon, and good day to you. We are back with the Lambda log, week 3, day 5, Friday, the 30th of January. Um, we got some good information. So Friday we got 4 classes with ensemble singing, screen acting, practical voice at Tamsin, and text analysis. So let's jump right into it. This shouldn't be too long, but again, it might be. Shout out Sandridge. The last few episodes I filmed on yesterday on Sunday. Today's Monday, and I was fasting, so wasn't giving any shout out to Sandridge. Well, now we're back to the grind. So, with ensemble singing, we started learning about a little soft palate drill. Yeah, so the soft palate is connected to the to other unstable like muscles in the mouth. So it takes time to practice to learn how to control it because he said it's like a wobbly bridge that instead of being connected to two trees that can stabilize it, it's connected to like other wobbly bridges. And so it's hard to really kind of get our mind around that. The exercise, the 5-part soft palate drill, is to start with an NG sound, right? So like, mm, and you know you're doing it if you when you do it and you plug your nose, it stops. Mm, mm, right? So that's totally nasal. And what you're going to do is you're going to go from nasal to mix to just oral, back to mix, back to nasal. So nasal, mix, oral, mix, nasal. So you can do it on any vowel, but the first one he suggested was an E. So and then you know if it's open, you can hear a little bit of a difference. That's because I'm a little congested, but it should be completely unaffected by closing your nose. That's open. And then when it's halfway through, that mix, you can hear that it's affected. So that's what it is. Trying to control that soft palate. And then we worked on our little scene in our little groups. And we're doing As You Like It, the scene with the fake wedding. I think I mentioned this last week, but and they're going to be singing Poker Face while we're singing Can You Feel the Love Tonight? And so it's going to be like sheep, and we're going to be saying, Can you feel the love tonight? And then it's going to come in with poker face, poker face. I think that's how it's going to work. So, yeah, but we gotta present it on next week, this week, Friday. So we'll figure it out. Then we went into screen acting and we brought our scenes. And so, um, yeah, Gary was saying how we're gonna sit down and read it, but if we need a break because we're just bored to death of reading, then we'll take it. But it's still really important to read as an actor, right? The way that we connect with the material and start to learn the material is first from reading it, and we won't have a ton of options in like the material we choose at first because it's going to be a lot about like a job's a job kind of a thing. So it's important to read it and to know it. And sometimes you'll get your agent will send you something at like 11 p.m. and then you gotta be there for like a 7 a.m. Audition, something like that. So you gotta read it through and know the material. And then what's mostly important after reading a script is to form an opinion on it. So then we started just going into people's scenes that they brought. And we didn't have time to go through everyone's because we did them a couple times and kind of saw things out. But the first scene was brought, it was from Blade Runner with Deckard and Ra Rachel. I think I've actually never seen it, but I think that's how you pronounce their names. And um, and it was a good scene. People who read it really connected with it. I was like, that's good stuff. And what really made it work was to remove the context, removing names and trying to remove the ideas from Blade Runner. Because the whole idea is like, what is it to be human, and do androids have rights, kind of a thing. Um, and so you don't need to come on top of other people's cues. You don't need to come on top of other people's cues, like, and dovetail everything. Really let it breathe and figure it out and find those quiet moments, the non-acting moments. Then we got another scene, which was from Altered Carbon between Kovacs and Quell. And Quell is revealing herself to be this other person. And then they did another scene from Altered Carbon, which was these two characters meeting. And it was a much stronger option because it was more opinionated, it was more dynamic, there was more of an arc for both characters. And then they did a third scene, which was from Black Mirror, Frank and Amy scene from season 4, episode 3. And it wasn't as strong either. It's right, but something we talked about is it's the actor's job to make the audience listen. It's not the writer's job, it's the actor's job. Right? Hopefully the actor does a good job. I mean, the writer does a good job and the actor has some good material to work it with, but still, it's the actor's job first and foremost. And then we had another scene, which was from Dispatches. It was from the pilot. Um, it was funny and over the top, and not a lot of context was known by anyone because it was like a pilot, and so it wasn't super necessary, but it was it was really good um, juxtaposition between two characters and all these things. It was good stuff. And then somebody brought a scene from Silo, and it had a lot of exposition in it, and it was kind of dependent on understanding the part, understanding the concept of the show. And then someone brought a scene in from Aliens, and it was very well known, but really just removing the classic names of characters and um, like the word alien really made the scene work. And then someone brought a scene from House of Dragon from the Game of Thrones, and it had some good ideas too, and some nice relationship things. We're thinking about how we would perform it. That one was between a mother and a son, and so it's like, well, we're going to be using us as actors, so how would that work? And you could change the relationship, but the relationship's a little important, so we were just kind of talking about that. And then another student brought in a scene from Battlestar Galactica. Um, and then found just a better way to cut it. And so we were just kind of walking through those, and that's all the scenes that we got through. But um, it was a good start, and it was good to see what scenes worked. I brought a scene from Incredibles that we didn't get to. um, yeah, I struggle to find material and to see the potential in things, but yeah. And then we had lunch, I believe, and then we had practical voice with Tamsin. and we we broke off into small groups and discussed the reading that we did about resonance, which actually finished in the morning because when I went off to print off my scene when I first got to school, I also finished reading because um, the night before I definitely fell asleep doing the reading, so that was good. Um, and I had the question about, like, so there's this, right? The larynx is this box, right? And so when I, like, it moves quite a bit. And so I was wondering if, because I always kind of imagine it like a sleeve around the trachea, but it's like attached and connected to the trachea. So is the whole trachea moving? Because I think of the trachea as stagnant, but and so I asked that, and there is a tilt to it. Mm, 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 mm. I think that's a lot of that is tilting it, but it does have a flexibility to move as well. It just feels when I like touch it, I'm like, that feels like it's moving so much. Um, And so then one of the students was struggling with understanding it conceptually in three-dimensional space. And so we recreated it with our bodies. Two people like stood and became um the ridge, the thyroid, right? And then other people became the vocal folds, and then and I'm forgetting the names, arytenoids, and the space in the air, and then we're connecting everything together. And so when we did it physically, it really helped us understand better. And the air, I didn't really think about this, but it makes sense that the air is the producer of the sound, and the muscles in the larynx just prime the glottis, or like the space where the sound, or like the space between the vocal folds in that area, for the sound. But before the air, it won't make any noise, right? And so even though the arytenoids are like stretching the vocal cords, it's it's the air that creates the vibrations, which creates the sound. And then as we get older, our cartilage gets harder. And that's what kind of changes our voice and affects our body. Then we did a little 7-minute warm up, individual warm up. Then Tamsin led a warm up. We did some spine relaxation and vocalization. We did our side, ba 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 ba's. But we also lifted a toe on that one to see further extension. And then we squatted while finding resonance. So we squatted down and we hummed. And we really like focused on these different sounds to find what resonated most with us and to think about where these transverse muscles can really get in play, because we did the knee thing that we did the other day as well, where we are semi-supine and then we lifted a leg, and to really connect with that abdominal wall. Um, and then we kind of did some shrinking and growing while we were doing that to find and feel our resonance. We ended with some wall pushes. Um, and we also added text throughout this, but with just wall pushes, we literally just, here, let's see, we literally just went up against the wall, toe to the wall, hands, then the knee kind of almost gets to the wall, and our shoulders aren't raised, so we're not up here, and we're not too far down, but we're just kind of right normal. And then you push against it as you speak. And that activation of force kind of really creates more resonance and more engaging of the right kind of muscles. So there's that. That was the gist of it. We did some other things, but um, that was it was hard to write down on Friday. Then we had text analysis with Philippe, and that was great. Um, yeah, we are observed. Brittany came in to observe him. Also, one of the D2s was there just to observe. I don't know if it's part of the MFA program or what, but he was there. He didn't contribute, he was just there. So I imagine it's observational. Um, we did our check-in with my name is and I feel blah, blah, blah. Their name is and they feel blah, 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 kind of a thing. And then we sat circled in chairs. Um, and we looked over the 12 questions that he sent us in an email. He used the word zadacha for which is Russian for problem, and that's what all these scenes and these characters have. They have a problem, right? So what is it? And then right, the equation that we always need to think about is I want plus I do equals how I feel. The 12 questions are this. It's separated into three categories. The first category is the given circumstances, 1 through 4. So, who am I? Where am I? When is it? Where have I just come from? Given circumstances. Next is motivation. What do I want? When do I know I've got it? That's 6. 7, why do I want it? 8, why why do I want it now? And 9, what happens if I don't get it? That's motivation. And then action. How do I get it? What's in my way? And what is it? And what is it like to me? So that's then connecting it to the actor. And so number 12, if it matters to you, it matters to others. So you need to bring that importance and the reality to it. So right. And a good quote too is acting should be safe, not necessarily comfortable. So the first couple went up and they did repetition into lines into improvised scene. And so the lines were as follows. You're a boy and I need a man. I pay for everything. I do everything. So this one was great because it became this huge problem with this relationship, and then drinking was involved, and it was wonderful. And we talked about objective is a two-part thing, right? One is what do you want, and two is when do you know that you've achieved it, right? So I do something so that my scene partner, this other person, this not scene partner, but my scene, my character, their character does something, okay? And then we talked about making it personal, right? What makes it personal? You don't need to share it necessarily, but this is what connects it to you as an individual, as an actor, as the person, right? How does Zion feel about this scene? Um, and you'll know when it kind of gives you a physical sensation, right? Like a flip of the belly or a drop of the heart. Um, a reminder that the repetition is an exercise and it's a tool. You don't need to take it. Um, you don't need to take it to practice it. You don't need to do it, right? Um, then a quote as well is that actors should be overheard, not listened to, right? There's these moments are always contained. Um, I guess in classical acting that's different. If there's a fourth wall, the actor should be overheard. Right, and then Philippe said to these two that that's what you did in the moment, and it was honest, so it felt inevitable. I like that too. And then what's my action? What's my intention? What's my point of view? Always get back to those three. The audience sees a performance, but the actors are having an experience, right? Philippe also says that I belong to the school of the rabid dog. Go after your objective like a rabid dog. And the two more went up, and their lines were as follows: You want my job, don't you? I grimace. Who wouldn't? So you did it on purpose. Of course, all's fair in love and war. So this one was great, um, because the one who's like taking the job, it turned into a situation of two people came up at the same time, and the one who like sabotaged a project just to make them look bad so that he would get the job. Um, so it's he was just like calm and smiling through the whole thing. I was like, oh, despicable. Um, yeah, and then the girl in the scene who asked first, "Do you want my job?" challenged him so that he admitted what he did, and then the guy shifted the blame to her, uh, so that she gets riled up, right? And then we're creating a sensation in the other so that they respond the way we want, right? Or that they do what we want. And that's kind of how this action is played. I want you to do something, and so I'm going to create the feelings in you that makes you do the thing I want you to do. Um, the guy won because he just stayed calm, and the other got riled up. Even if you don't get what you want, you get something, right? But even then, if it's honest, the actor always wins. Um, these personalizations are what are like the next level that makes it honest, strong, and deep. Specifics and dynamics are so important. The prep creates these, and then if I win, so Philippe gave an example of his personalization. He was doing a scene, and it was about a brother, and he loves his brother, and he was like, yeah, but I was thinking that if I just like leaned into my brother, if like he died, it just wasn't firing me up. But I play pickleball, and I play with these 60 and 70-year-olds who are sick. And so I was just thinking, if I win this scene, then I'm gonna win at pickleball tonight, and everyone's gonna see how awesome I am. And so he's like, and that fired me up. And so it doesn't necessarily have to be connected, but you just need that physical reality brought into it, and then find that find that physical sensation, and lean into it. And then and then if a certain connection isn't working, take your time to daydream and wonder about it, what connects you. And then all the 12 questions funnels down into the simple playable actions. Excuse me. And then invest in the reality of doing. Then two others got up, and the words were as follows: Guy, I'm your brother. Girl, not after what you've done. So you hate me now. It's not that simple. This one was really cool, because as it developed, it was in a lot of generals and vague, and then was just such great changing of tactics, and went into the brother being self-deprecating. It's like, I know I hate myself and I don't deserve this, but I need you, and I understand that you'd hate me. And so it was great. Yeah, the brother wants forgiveness, so that she hugs him, and the girl wants space so that he leaves the room. And then play to win, there are no other options. something Philippe said is that this course is so expensive. So do we want to do this kind of work or not? Like the kind of work that we do in these repetitions. And then Philippe said this is the kind of scene that would get actors cast. It was really strong. And then we got some classical text and we were with a partner and um we chose our scenes and I it was a Gertrude Hamlet scene. I chose to be Gertrude and I wanted to discipline Hamlet so that Hamlet apologizes. And let's see if I remember it because we went off and worked on memorizing it, and then we came back and did our scenes. But it was Hamlet, you have much offended your father in this. And then Hamlet says, Mother, you have much offended my father in this. In word, in deed, in what? Let's see if I have it readily available. Aha, yeah, I do. Preparation. Uh, yeah, here it is. Hamlet, thou hast thy father much offended. Mother, you have my father much offended. Come, come, you answer with an idle tongue. Come, come, go, go, you question with a wicked tongue. How now, Hamlet? And so I think we're gonna finish those next week because we didn't get through everybody. We were only able to do three scenes. We did a Hamlet scene, a Macbeth scene, and then another Hamlet scene, and then another Macbeth scene, and then a Medea scene. But yeah, so and then Hamlet, his goal was to resist, and his state of perfection, or when he knew that he had succeeded, Gertrude apologizes. So then two people went up and did Hamlet, and they continued with Old English into um, the improvised part, and it didn't have to follow the given circumstances or situation of the play, but theirs did, which was cool. And I was like, kudos on you for following the Old English and trying to have like that iambic pentameter and verseness to it. And the question, was it alive? And if it is, great, you succeeded. And then when Shakespeare's truthful, it's understood. Then two others went and they did Macbeth. It was between Lady Macbeth and Macbeth. And then uh, it came up if you don't get excited about the objective, then you've picked the wrong one. So pick another one. I don't think that's necessarily because they weren't, but that was just an idea, which was good. Then and then our homework for next week will be to bring a juicy 4 to 6 line scene prepared with a partner. Make sure it's juicy. And it can be contemporary or classical. And then two others went and they did a Hamlet scene. And then when you have a grasp of your lines, you're about 50% there, right? I think we said 60 before, but it's really like half. You need to drill it. Um, because as one of these people went through, they were doing the repetition, they're like, I forgot my line. And so they went back to the repeating the lines back and forth without any emotion so that they can just get it in their bodies. And it was a great exercise. That's how we're all feeling. We just took like 20 minutes to learn the lines. And it's easy to forget, right? And some things to remember is we are natural memorization machines. So relax, be patient. How many songs do we have memorized? How many words and language and idioms and sayings and quotes? We have so much memorized. We just naturally memorize things. So lean into that. And then something to help is move when you're learning your lines. Put the lines, um, this works for some people, is put the lines on post-its and walk the space to find them. Like here's a line, there's a line, there's a line, and you walk through. And then we had another Macbeth scene, it was great. And then we had a Medea scene, which was great. And it switched, excuse me. I apologize for all my sniffing and hacking and blah. I'm getting over this cold. I will get over it, but not yet, I guess. Um, and they really took it out of context, which is fun, interesting, which was cool. And then we finished, and that was the gist of the class. And he said we can go through the people who didn't go, myself and my partner included, next week. And that was Friday, the 30th of January, right? Right. 30th of January 2026. Now on to week 4. Wild. And I believe my timetable is correct. Let me pull up a calendar that we have this week and then next week, and then that's half term. So we're performing, um, how is that possible? We're performing our scenes next week. I've had one rehearsal. Brilliant. Make sure I have my lines done. I think um Nicola was saying we need to be like off book memorized by Tuesday, like solid. So that's great. Anyway, it'll be awesome. Love you. Have a wonderful day. Lifetime.